The following program is brought to you by Jack Miller.
It's Down to Business with Jack Miller. Forget what they teach you in school. This is real life, not Wall Street, but Main Street. A real show on what's really involved with starting and running a business with all the ups and downs. Our guests will answer your questions and provide you with valuable information. Stay tuned and join in the conversation.
When the earth was created.
Hello, this is Jack Miller. I'm here with my good friend Todd Cohen. How are you, Todd?
I'm doing great, Jack. How you doing?
Good. I wish our audience could see both of our smiles. We have a super exciting guest on today. Her name is Katie. She's with the Adam and Eve Adult Entertainment. I don't know
Empire.
Empire. They're the largest seller of adult toys in the world. They have franchises. They have all kinds of stuff.
They have a production company.
I know they do. I spent a lot of time last night after I fasted. Yesterday was the holiest day in the Jewish year. I spent the day fasting and praying for forgiveness for God.
Right. Well, they say timing is everything. I find it very funny that the day after the Day of Atonement, we're having this show and this guest, and we have 364 days really to wait for the next time to atone for this show.
100%. I even got it worse because I was in synagogue praying yesterday and fasting, and all I kept thinking about is this show and all the questions I was going to ask and inappropriate thoughts. So I understand. First, I want to do a disclosure that what Todd and I are doing today is strictly for the radio audience. The opinions are not of ours. We don't want to get in any trouble with our wives and divorces or separations or have to sleep on the sofa for any questions we ask, of course.
Right.
Yeah. So
no, it's all for entertainment purposes and, of course, information. And this is a legitimate business and one of the most lucrative businesses in all of the world, frankly, the adult entertainment business, that is. And, we're a business show. We got to talk about it all.
We're going to. They offer franchises. There's franchises available in Florida. And they were nice enough to send me a big box of all kinds of stuff that they sell on the website. That's right, Todd.
You get all the perks.
Todd,
where's my swag bag?
I don't want to say I used it. I'll tell you what happened. Todd's holding up the catalogs. They also sent us a lot of good catalogs, which are very fun. I get home yesterday. I'm in synagogue fasting, and my wife's all excited. She has this big box of stuff. My luck, this is what happens when you're 53 and married for 29 years. My head was pounding because I didn't eat all day. All I wanted to do was lay in bed and just take aspirin and be left alone. So, but anyway, so did you have a good time in synagogue? You had a nice fast?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's nice to a point. I've been sick for the last couple of days, so I had a splitting headache by about 2 p.m. yesterday with the lack of taking in water or food. I'm grappling with the question, can I take aspirin, for my headache? Is that part of what is allowed? I didn't even know what to do. I never know what to do in those instances. Fortunately, my father-in-law is a rabbi, so I at least have someone that I could call and ask.
I think you're allowed to take aspirin.
I think you are, too.
You're allowed to take aspirin if you're sick or have a headache or something.
I think medicines in general, especially if they're prescribed or necessary, are fine.
That's correct. That's 100% correct. You are. I don't know if I told you, I happen to be a sexpert. Since we're talking about sex, I'm an expert in sex. I don't really know what's going on with sex, but I'm an expert in the Jewish law of sex.
Wow.
There's a ton of crazy stuff within the Jewish religion about sex, and I've mastered that.
Okay, you're a master of your own domain, huh?
Yes, I don't know really what's going on, but I don't understand my body or the woman's body, but I know the Jewish law of sex.
Good for you.
That I know.
So what's that sheet called?
It's a fallacy.
That is a fallacy.
There's no sheet with a hole in it. I know that's a big thing. I know that was on Curb Your Enthusiasm, but it's a fallacy.
Got it.
It's a fallacy. There's a lot of fallacies within the Jewish religion about sex.
Okay.
We could do a show on it one time.
There's probably a lot of fallacies in general about sex.
Yeah. I actually tried to get someone on, believe it or not, this show who could talk about the Pope. I tried to get an expert on the Pope. I don't know how we go from the Pope to adult
entertainment
toys.
Yeah.
But because I thought it would be fascinating to have really an expert on the Pope because he's in town. It's exciting and all this stuff.
Pope might actually know. I mean, that might be blasphemous to say, but he seems pretty liberal as far as popes go. So,
from an outsider, I'm very impressed by him. I must confess, I don't know that much, but he seems to be the Pope of the people, and he connects with people very well.
Yeah, he's up in the Northeast. I think he's visiting our hometown of Philly
Philadelphia
tomorrow and for the weekend. So.
Yeah, they're basically shutting Center City down.
Unbelievable.
I think it's the highest level of security ever for anyone. So
I believe it. They've shut all the bridges, all the highways down. I think it's going to be a disaster for those in the city, and a lot of people are traveling outside if they need to get away. And who knows?
Anyway, we could talk about Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the Pope, all that stuff, or we can talk adult, I don't know, toys or entertainment. With that, you want to bring Katie on? Katie, you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Katie, this is Jack. I have Todd. Say hello to Todd.
How you doing?
Todd.
Katie, first, I want to thank you for your presence yesterday.
Yeah.
You probably didn't hear, but I told Todd we were in synagogue all day praying yesterday. I came home to those presents. I was very excited. But when you're married 29 years, I had a splitting headache. So not much happened to them. But my wife gave me a lot of questions for you.
Okay. Well, maybe tonight you can put them to good use.
I hope so. Actually, my mother-in-law's coming over, so I don't know. But anyway, so Katie, why don't you tell us about, let's start. I have literally tons and tons of questions about you, some about sex and relations between male and female, but I also have a lot of really good business questions because you guys are a thriving business, and I know you offer franchises, and I want to talk about the economics behind the business and not just the pretty people behind it. By the way, as sitting on our desk here are your catalogs with everyone fully showing themselves in their
well,
birthdays.
not showing everything.
No, but it's hard to concentrate.
I mean, there's not much that they're not showing. I'll tell you right now.
It's pretty good. In fact, Katie, the only thing that could have been better, you should have sent over some demonstrators. That would have been good. But why don't you tell us seriously, and we'll try not to make too much of a circus of it. I'm sure we'll make a little. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Adam and Eve? You told me, and I read some fascinating things about the company. And why don't you go into a little history, and then we'll talk some of the good stuff.
Well, we actually started in 1971. The former president, the founder of the company, Phil Harvey, created Adam and Eve out of his master's thesis. He challenged an age-old Comstock law, which made it illegal to provide birth control methods to the public. And he challenged that by placing ads in newspapers for condoms, which were, then available only in pharmacies behind the counters, causing a lot of embarrassment and social anxiety, I would imagine. So he made it anonymous, basically, for people to order through newspapers, and it was a huge success, and the government didn't raise an eyebrow. And from that, he created pamphlets offering condoms as well as other items. Not all were sexually related, but he did find that the sexually related items were the ones that sold.
Shocker.
Exactly, yeah.
So, out of curiosity, I just have so many questions, so I'm going to just start answering them. How much has the Internet changed the sex business and the adult toy business?
Vastly. When I first started, around 20 years ago here, DVDs weren't even around. It was the VHS tapes. And so it was really a lot of the adult movies. That was, our bread and butter. And now toys are about 80% of our sales.
How much of them are on the Internet and how much are in your retail locations?
It's about the same, but the Internet really opened up our business to women, we feel. The demographics have changed. If you compare the paper catalogs, the mail order versus Internet and then stores, we found a lot of couples go into stores together.
But single people, the females and things like that, buy them on the Internet?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Gotcha. What's fascinating, I want to talk a lot about that stuff, but one of the things I thought, which is very unusual, you guys donate a good amount of your profits, 20%, to charities.
We do. I donate condoms pretty much every week to different organizations that request them. We donate money to American Cancer Society. We've built a house here through Habitat for Humanity. And the founder, Phil Harvey, also started DKT International out of Washington, D.C., which supplies birth control methods to third world countries. So we do donate a lot of money to that.
It's interesting. How do you pick the charities that you're giving to? Just general, like cancer, Habitat for Humanity, just general charities?
We consider everything. There are some things that come through every year that, we feel strongly about. Special Olympics, American Cancer Society. Cancer has touched pretty much everybody. So that's something, a lot of our employees feel strongly about. Our employees do fundraisers as well, and then the company will typically match the funds that are raised. So if someone here has, a particular interest or something that they want to do, the company will get behind the employees.
Gotcha. How many employees do you guys have?
It's around 300 right now.
So it's an enormous company.
It's a good-sized company, yeah.
What percent of people do you think, and I know you have all kinds of surveys, do you think aren't, I don't want to say aren't into it, everyone's like into it, but like I don't want to say too uptight to look at this, but what percent of the population, or are there a lot of people who are offended by this? Or is everyone like Todd and I who just loves it and can't get enough of it?
In my experience, I've only run into a handful, one hand, I could say, people who have been offended or uncomfortable or shunned me, basically. There's usually a curiosity. I think most people like to have fun with it, and they giggle. And even at cocktail parties or things like that, people who originally act uncomfortable are the ones that corner you by the end of the night and are asking all the questions.
They're probably the biggest freaks. What do you think it is? I don't know what it is. It's in our genetics. Whenever we talk about sex or bodily fluids or something like that, we just giggle and smile. Is that everyone, or is it just us in the studio? By the way, our switchboard operator is not looking at me. I think I'm getting dirty looks from her. I hope I'm not offending her. But
I'd have to give her a catalog after the show.
I think if she wants, she can come in here. I'd be a little too embarrassed. She looks like a very nice lady. I don't know. But no, Todd and I are like hysterical, giggling over this. You should see Todd's grin right now. So but what is it about genetics or the sexes that when you talk about this that people just love it?
Well, I think it's one of the last taboos. I mean, we're kind of trained not to talk about it, but it's something we're all here because of it, one way or another.
So with that, you say taboos. I was fascinated when I read that there's certain geographic areas in the U.S. that you don't ship to.
Right.
And is that because of the government or regulation, or you're afraid of the judicial system in those areas?
The political climate in certain areas, Utah, parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, we have been advised, we don't want to raise any flags or cause any problems. So when people try to order products from those areas, we tell them that they need to, kind of vote in some more liberal politicians.
That's crazy. So really, I have to get a bunch of sex toys, put them in the back of my trunk, and drive out to those areas. I can get double and triple the price, probably.
Oh, you would be, so popular.
I probably wouldn't come out alive.
So, I have a couple questions, Katie. First of all, what would you say are like the 2 or 3 most popular items today in your stores or in your catalogs?
The Rabbit vibrators are still really big sellers. Those have been around for a while, but Sex and the City kind of blew the lid off of those. And so now there are hundreds of different varieties of those with all different kinds of bells and whistles. Bullet vibrators, which are just, very, very simple, small vibrators.
So the travel kind.
Yeah, and they're pretty benign looking. They're not very phallic, and so if they happen to fall out of your purse, you could be like, oh, that's for my neck or shoulder pain, So
let me ask you a question. So I know it's illegal to text in most states, but when you're driving down the street, you can use a little vibrator?
Well, we wouldn't recommend that.
There was a guy a couple months ago in some crazy state. He was eating a Big Mac, and he got pulled over on the side of the road, and they arrested him.
He deserves it.
Yeah,
I just found out you're not allowed to eat or drink any kind of beverage in the UK while you're driving.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I know. That's really crazy. So those are your biggest items.
I also read that you guys ship internationally, and you have pretty much since your inception. Which country besides the United States are sort of the craziest or the most sexually liberated, would you say, based on orders and based on?
I don't know. They sell lots of things overseas that we could never sell, that we would never, try to sell. Movies in Germany and different kinds of things like that. We try to focus our sales in the United States.
Katie, we have to take, I hate to do this on such a good topic, and we have to take a commercial. And when I get back, I'm going to continue this, ask you for more provocative, and then talk about franchising, too.
Yeah, no pun intended. We have a hard break right now. So
That's exactly right. Okay, we'll see you in 2 minutes.
All right.